Yeah, this guy's gonna probably get back points on me, but guys, it's better for him to get back points than for him to pin you in front of your girlfriend, in front of your mom, and then you have to walk off the mat with your tail between your legs.
I'm here with my good friend Placido Santos. He is an expert in jiu-jitsu. He actually owns 5 Stone Jiu-Jitsu here in Massachusetts.
I don't prefer under because of this. That's why I don't prefer under, right? So over, now I don't have a hand to, and this you can grit through this. Like you can put your head down and grit, but 2 hands, you can't grit through that. Like I said, the strength of Kesa is the perpendicular, right? So as long as you stay perpendicular with me, you're gonna be able to hold me here.
Yeah.
The way I'm gonna break the strength of Kesa is by getting parallel. The more parallel I get, the more you feel like the pin is starting to go, right?
Yeah.
If you stay here, like you just don't move your hips, so easy for me to reverse the position, right?
Yeah.
So obviously, guys, don't stay there. As I walk away, you walk in. And now from here, we hit all the different reverses that you're talking about. Main thing is to create movement. Plus, you want to walk your hips away anyways, because say I just stay here, I'm gonna get pinned. Yeah. I need to walk away to get on my side. Yeah. So there's gonna be back points, but bro, better back points than to get pinned in the match end.
What Placido was just explaining to me, and this is why, you know, we have him in this video because of his expertise. A lot of times in wrestling, I want to get my hips underneath of him so I can bridge out of this position. But if I start chasing the hips, he'll start chasing his legs away, and you end up not being able to get out. So instead, walk your hips away and get your back off the mat. So instead of being flat on the mat and getting pinned, walk your hips away, kind of shrimp. You can even take your hand, probably push on the back a little bit, and walk your hips away. As he goes to recover and bring his hips in, you can go and meet him. You got 2 options here. One, you can lock. Locking low does help because you can get a little more leverage. And bridging him to his head first, and then rolling through. And then the second option, depending on where this leg is, you can step and hook the leg. So if the knee is in, I won't be able to do that. But if his knee is out a little bit, I can hook. And it's all the same thing. I'm throwing my hips underneath and bringing him through and getting out of that position.
There's a million different ways to play Kesa-Gatame. The most common one is an overwrap on the elbow. Yeah, exactly. The reason people do this is because, number one, if Ebony can keep this elbow off the mat, it stops me from turning into him, right? So for me to like turn into him with authoritatively, let go of the elbow, my elbow has to come in and then I can start to turn in, right? But if he can stop my elbow from coming in, I try to turn into him, it's really hard, okay? If they don't control your elbow with an overwrap, it's an easy thing for us to take both of our hands on his face and start to push his face away and start to build up, right? But the main thing here is not so much what are your arms doing. It is a factor, guys. Like, don't get me wrong. It is very important what your hands are doing. But the most important thing in this position is understanding that as long as we're perpendicular with each other, right? So as long as we make the shape of a cross, the better it is for Ebed to pin me. The more I can get out of that cross shape and go to parallel positions, the easier it's going to be for me to escape. So Ebed has me in this position. From here, I'm using my hand just to check his face. I'm not really going to push him away with this. I'm just checking, okay? Ebed's going to put pressure down on this hand too, just so he doesn't get bullied around. From here, I walk onto my side, so I don't get pinned. I take a shoulder off the mat. And now, as Ebed was saying, is as he goes to recover, now from here we go for all our different counters. Does that make sense, guys? So always with a pin, try to ask yourself, what part of my body is he controlling? What part of my body is he not controlling? How can I use the part of my body that's not being controlled to assist me in my escape?
All right, number 2 is side control. So if I'm stuck here, one of the things I'm trying to focus on is getting one of these hands through. All right, so I can try to turn in or I can try to turn away. Most of the time, like we talked about in the pin video, you'll see people trying to turn away. But as long as this arm is stuck, I can't turn all the way to my stomach. So a lot of times you might bridge to get some, essentially space, because when I drop back down, I might be able to get that hand through. Sometimes you'll like bridge and then you loosen, you bridge and you're trying to get this hand down, but there's a balance, because at any moment when you're flat on your back, it's like you're stuck and you lose. So finding a way to kind of wiggle your hands through and trying to bridge and get your arm through is pretty important. Now you can just try to muscle and bridge through, but like this position I think is so hard. Another thing, you can fight in, so this hand I think it makes it a little easier to actually bring it this way, depending on how they're holding you, but I could bridge up and try to punch my arm through this way too. But a lot of times your hands are stuck, So you have to get your hands through in addition to just bridging.
Yeah.
All right, anything you got on that position?
I think the general premise is very true that if you can get your hands between you and your opponent, it's an advantage because essentially what you're doing is number one, you're negating that chest to chest. So let's understand that anytime you're in a pin, if I can get chest to chest, go back down. If I can completely put my chest on your chest, like even when Ebed goes to talk, Ebed, you can feel like he can feel the pressure of my body. But even if he just puts both of his hands between us, right? Same exact pin, but now both of our hands are, now when he goes to talk, it's not as labored, right?
Yep.
So understand that from top position, one of the best ways that you can start to create pressure on your opponent is to get chest to chest position. So Ebed's talking about if I can simply get my hands between me, my chest, and my opponent's chest, I can start to negate some of that pressure and then use that to escape. 100% true. Let me throw a couple more techniques your way on how we can achieve that hand inside position. So say for example, we're on bottom. So remember, like obviously this is the sport of wrestling is the context here. So again, trying to keep both of our shoulder blades off the mat is imperative here, and working with urgency is imperative here. If knees are away from here, the beauty of knees away is that it's easy for us to get an elbow inside, okay? If the knees are in, elbow inside is much more difficult. Yeah, now my elbow is harder for me to get my elbow inside, okay? If knees are away, from here, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna slip an elbow inside and start to work onto my side immediately. Now, I will only be able to work so far with Ebed's pressure on me. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my right hand, stay on. I'm gonna take my right hand, I'm gonna post my right hand on his trap like so. I'm gonna start to walk away, and off that walk away, my hand comes inside. So as Ebed goes to turn back into me, I can work to my side. And now that I'm on my side, let's scramble Ebed. You can start to scramble out. Okay, so it's the basic exact same premise that Ebed's working with, which is this idea of if I can just get a hand between us, then I'll be able to work out of there, okay? So let me show knees away, and then I'll show knees too. So again, your opponent has his knees away. The disadvantage of knees away is that you leave a lot of space right here between his hip and my shoulders, right? So look how this hand can just slip inside, okay? What I'm gonna do is, as Ebed's trying to hold on to me, I'm gonna take my right hand, I'm gonna post, my elbow slips inside, and I walk my hips away onto my side. That allows my hand to come completely inside. Now from here, as Ebed goes to pressure back into me, I turn all the way to my side, and now from here, we're out. Now, if the knees are in, that's a little bit harder to hit because my elbow can't come inside. In our sport, in jiu-jitsu, this is more common, knees in. What we're gonna do from here is that if the knees are in, I'm gonna take my hand all the way up and over, and my elbow will act like a block on his knee. What I'm gonna do from here is, as my elbow blocks his knee, I'm gonna take my right hand back to the trap, and I'm gonna hit a directional bridge just to get Ebed to post his hand on the mat, like so. As Ebed goes to come back, my hands come inside. Look how my hands are inside now. Now he tries to hold me down, I can at the very least belly out, and now start to work out of a belly out position, okay? Again, in our sport, in jiu-jitsu, there are different ways we would behave, but in wrestling, obviously, it's imperative that you work up off the flat of your back, and that's what I'm trying to teach you guys here, is create a quick off balance, get your hands between you and him, and then work onto your belly, and then from your belly, fight from there.
Now we're gonna work on the suck back position, this north-south pin, and you're gonna see, like, again, I brought Placido in here because he has an expert in pinning escapes, and with wrestling, you know, most times you're just taught bridge. Bridge as hard as you can, try to get your arms free. You're not really taught some of these details, and, you know, that's why even in that last video, you know, those are some of the stuff you'll never really learn in a wrestling room. And I'm hopefully getting you guys this access so you guys can start working this and never get pinned again. Another little thing, too, is you'll notice a lot of times the best wrestlers, they sometimes get pinned because they're not used to it. Yeah. They don't drill off their back, and a lot of times they get caught in their back. They're like, these are the pins. These are some of the ones that you learn, right? You learn like a fingertip bridge, you know. Like I'm talking about, like not learn, but you'll see people fighting off their back. Never been on their back before. You'll see them go like this, you know, just trying their best. They don't have, because we don't spend time. Hey, start on your back, get off. Even when you're a kid, you do that, but it's really just bridge. And then right after you're a youth wrestler, you kind of stop learning. You don't do rounds on your back, and a lot of times, which I think is not good. In live practices, you put somebody on their back, very common to let them go, start it back on your feet.
Interesting.
You know what I mean? You don't spend time
Working out of position, yeah.
fighting off that position. But
Yeah.
let's move on to this position here. So the position happens where somebody goes to a sit out. So we're here. Normally you want both hands on the inside when somebody comes to a sit out. You'll take one hand, control the shoulder, other hand comes out of the armpit, comes to the chin. You're moving your body out of the way so there's space. You'll pull them back, and then most of the time, to get a little more control, you'll switch the hand on the chin to coming over top of the head here.
All right, let's understand real quick, just a quick concept, and then I'll show you the escape. Like Ebbett said, a lot of times, like wrestlers don't spend a lot of time in these positions, so they tend to be a bit misguided and a little bit lost when they get here. Understand that when you get to these positions, obviously in the sport of wrestling, Ebbett's goal is to get my shoulder blades flat on the mat, okay? If he can get both my shoulder blades flat on the mat, that's a pin, match is over. Understand, you want to, don't let the match end. Live to fight another day, okay? So worst case scenario, you might get back points called on you probably will, but just because you're gonna get back points called on you does not mean you need to get pinned and lose. Learn to be a dog, learn to grit through it, and learn to fight. What that means is that when we're in this position, what I want you guys to get away from is less bridging straight up, because when you bridge straight up, in reality, my relationship with the shoulders on the mat doesn't change much. What I want you guys more to think about is going side to side. Notice when I go side to side, my relationship with the shoulders changes a ton. Look at my angle of the shoulders relative to the mat. How my shoulders go side to side and they change with the mat. When you bridge straight up, look at the angle of my shoulders relative to the mat. It really doesn't change that much. Does my shoulder disconnect from the mat? Yeah, but barely. Like look how much, there's like barely that much space. Will, come over here. When I bridge straight up, look at how much distance there is between my shoulder and the mat. And my hips are super high. Look how high my hips are off the mat. But watch this. My hips don't go nearly as high, but look how much distance my shoulder has from the mat. Like literally 2 or 3 times the amount of distance. And that's how we're gonna escape this pin. So Ebbett's gonna have me, put me in the crack, in the suck back. Good, immediately, I wanna take my shoulders immediately off the mat. So I'm gonna go to turn away. Now, this isn't gonna be our escape, it's just gonna break that pin position where Ebbett's not gonna be able to end the match immediately. What you'll feel from here is that as you go to turn away, obviously Ebbett's gonna keep this shoulder down on the mat. His goal is to flatten you back out. Go ahead, Ebbett. And he flattens you back out and he pins you. Now, the biggest mistake wrestlers make from here is they try to go for it, it fails and they go again, it fails and they go again. And they're like hard-headed dogs that just keep going the exact same direction. And you're like, no, bad dog, and they just don't learn, okay? What you wanna do from here is that as I feel this pin start to fail, my thumb is gonna come to his elbow. And now I'm gonna go back the direction Ebbett wants to take me, but on my terms. Ebbett, take me back. And I slip out and I thumb post on this elbow. What I'm doing here is that I'm using my hips to generate momentum to slip my arm out. I'm using my right hand to strip his elbow off my head, thumb post it away, and suck my elbow back. It's actually pretty hard to hold on to, right, Ebbett?
Yeah.
So we're here. Obviously, he just hit me with that suck back. I don't want to stay here for any prolonged period of time or else the match might be over. So the moment he puts me down, Ebbett, let's go back to the starting position so they can get context. He puts me down. I'm here, okay? I'm in this position. Ebbett's going to try to flatten me back out. I suck back and I come back. Does that make sense, guys? So that's going to be, it's called a pendulum escape in jiu-jitsu, where my legs pendulum back and forth and they allow me to escape. So my coach, John, he's huge on learning, especially teaching beginners from the bottom up. What does that mean? I teach them how to get out of the worst positions possible first, and then I'll teach them offense of the sport. His reasoning is this. Oftentimes when you get somebody in any given sport, whether it's wrestling, whether it's jiu-jitsu, whether it's boxing, whatever the case may be, they're very shy to pull the trigger. Like their offense is they're very shy to incorporate it. Why? If it's boxing, they don't want to get hit in the face. If it's wrestling, they don't want to get sprawled on. If it's jiu-jitsu, they don't want to get put in a pin. But imagine now you took an athlete and you taught him and you made him really good at escaping pins. Yeah. How scared do you think he is about getting pinned? Yeah. Take a boxer, teach him how to dodge a punch, teach him how to parry a punch, teach him how to slip a punch. Now, how much more scared do you think he is about getting punched in the face? Same thing with a wrestler. Teach him how to deal with a sprawl. He gets really good at dealing with sprawls. Like, sprawls don't really scare him anymore. What do you think is going to happen to his offense? It's going to shoot up like a rocket. Because now this guy's like, what's the worst that could happen? This guy sprawls on me? I'm really good at dealing with sprawls. I don't really care. So what you're saying where like, oh man, in college I was only like on my back like 4 times, like that's not necessarily a bad thing per se, but I do believe like if wrestlers did spend a bit more time developing these back positions, it would make their offense blossom more.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
I 100% agree. I mean, I always just tell people like be offensive. But if I don't help them on how to actually like finish the takedowns and put more emphasis on that, their confidence will still shoot down.
Yeah.
Like even if they do be offensive,
yeah,
they'll be like, I'm horrible at wrestling.
Yeah.
Every time I shoot, I still get taken
yeah.
down. Like, yeah, my coach is telling me to be awesome. I'm getting better at wrestling, but like, I like that a lot. And I've heard other coaches talk about spend more time on the finish of the takedowns. Spend more time teaching the finish because it's easy to get to the legs.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
it's like spend more time on these positions where people are afraid of, that people don't want to be in. Like, I don't want to shoot because I don't want to get tired.
You don't want to get tired. You want to get sprawled on. Well, realistically, like it just comes down to this. Like, if you can make the athlete not be scared in bad positions, what's the worst that could happen to him? I end up in a bad position. I don't care. Like, I'm really good at escaping from there. Yeah. I'm gonna get out.
100%. All right, we're moving on to the next pin, the Grapevine. So, Placido will kind of take over on the way he likes to get out of this position.
So again, guys, with the Grapevine, same thing we went over the last pin, this idea where you guys have to understand, come on top, Evan, that when you bridging directly up and down really doesn't help you that much, okay? Especially when it comes to getting my shoulder blades off the mat, right? So understand, with the Grapevine, Ebed is completely on top of me. Like, his weight is centered on me, okay? So when I go to bridge straight up, just stay on me. When I go to bridge straight up, even if I bring a shoulder blade off the mat, when I come back down, he's right back on top of me. It's like I really didn't do anything to help the situation. Again, if I bridge straight up and down, my hips can make as much separation with the mat as they want. It really doesn't matter if when I come back down, he's back on top of me, okay? So what we want to think about instead is, guys, think less about bridging straight up and down and think more about bridging side to side. Again, guys, look at my hips relative to the mat. You guys see my hips? My hips are barely off the mat. But look at my shoulders. Look how far my shoulders are up off the mat. His ability to pin me here versus his ability to pin me here, which one do you want to be in? Look how far my shoulder is from the mat. It's like barely any distance. Look how far my shoulders are from the mat. So again, this idea that the strength of a bridge is how far your hips are off the mat can be a little misguided. Think more, how do I make angle and break angles relative to the mat so I can create the most amount of separation with my shoulders. Yeah, this guy's going to probably get back points on me, but guys, it's better for him to get back points than for him to pin you in front of your girlfriend, in front of your mom, and then you have to walk off the mat with your tail between your legs, okay? Live to fight another fight, take him back down, and win the match, all right? So we're here, he's on top. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bridge off to my side. Guys, notice again, to my side. I am not bridging straight up and down. You bridge straight up and down, your shoulders are close to the mat. I bridge to my side. Now, we have to deal with the grapevines. When Ebed goes to hook on my legs, watch how I extend my foot out. Again, Ebed holds on. Watch how I extend my foot out. He's not able to hold on to it. My heel comes to my butt, and I post my foot on the mat. I'll load my bridge again back the other way, and watch how I take off the second grapevine. Same thing, I extend off the mat. Look at my shoulders, guys. Look how far my shoulders are up off the mat, okay? And I put my foot back on the mat. Ebed's weight's gonna come back onto me. I post my hands on his hips like I'm about to bench press him, and I take him back the other way. Here. Now off this position, we go to wrestle. I can at least belly out, and then from here, fight, okay? And sometimes, like, you know, Ebed was being a good uke, like he was just trying to be compliant with me. So when I went to bench press him off, he like went far off. Sometimes that won't happen. Sometimes he'll barely go off, and I'll have to come up to like some type of a single leg. So for example, Ebed, here, he vines. I bridge to my side, I take off the first vine. I bridge to my side, I take off the second vine. Now I go back and bridge on my side, and I barely take him off here. But watch how I now retract my body, and I'm in on a single. Now from here we're fighting. I might get sprawled on, things might happen, or I might be able to fight my way up into positions that favor me and don't favor him, okay? But the idea here is that, remember, this type of position, you want to bridge side to side. Don't let your the shoulder blades be close to the mat. Extend your legs to get rid of the vines, and as long as you're moving side to side, you should be all right.
All right, now we're dealing with the Turk position, a very difficult position to deal with, but a lot of times what you're trying to do is go forwards. Crawl yourself forwards to be able to slip that leg out. You're not really dealing with the head control, you're really dealing with the leg control, and the way we're doing this is with a shrimp. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I do wanna see if I can get my hands on his hips to get a little bit of control here, and I definitely wanna get to my side so I'm not getting pinned, right? Because the match is over if my back is flat. So on my side, my hands are just pushing on the hip here, same with my forearm, and I'm trying to scooch my hip away and slide my leg as low on his leg as possible. So my leg's really deep in there right now. I'm trying to push away and slide as much backwards as possible. Once I have enough space in between to bring my other knee through, I'll do that, and then I'll look to just belly out and then build up from there.
We call this in jiu-jitsu a knee elbow escape, where he brings his knee and his elbow together and he uses that powerful frame to get out. Yeah. This is a very good escape.
I think as it's happening, I think you want to get your arms in the way in the first place. If you get stuck with your arms on the outside and he has that chest-to-chest contact, it's going to be tough to get back in here. So I'm here, I'm turning to my side, my hands pushing on his hip, my forearms in the way. I'm scooching my butt backwards and sliding my leg out here, and then there's enough space for my knee to come through, and then I can belly out and work out of that position.
That's awesome. One other escape you guys can work with here is an underhook, and working actually up to a single leg. So this might actually be a cool escape for you because it'll let you get right back into some offense. So from here, the more Ebed's hands are out on the mat to base, the better it is for him base-wise. But the more he exposes underhooks, okay? So we're here, same thing. I'm working on my side. It's not gonna work. I'll take my hand and I put my elbow right under his armpit. Now what are we gonna do from here is the exact same thing Ebed did, except I'm gonna do it with an underhook. So from here, my body shrimps back out and becomes like a ball, like a shrimp, and I shrimp myself under him. Off of that shrimp under, watch how my hand goes from here, from up by his shoulder, down to below the line of his. So now when Ebed goes to put in his whizzer, it's a pretty weak whizzer. If I go to his waist, it's a very strong whizzer. Do you feel that, Ebed?
Yeah.
But if I go to his, it's not as strong. What I'm gonna do from here is I'm gonna take my right leg, rake it inside, bring my elbow back, and I end up in this backside single position. Now from here you have more offense you can go for. So one more time, I'm in a Turk position. From here, I'm working on my side. I'm working off my side. We're working off our side, okay? We don't bridge straight up and down. If you bridge straight up and down, it doesn't do much for you. We work side to side. Yeah, exactly. He's gonna cross face me and do things like that. I take my hand under. Now I shoot my hips back and I off balance his hands overhead. Again, guys, he's gonna get back points on you, but it's better that he get back points on you than for the match to end, okay? From here, watch how my hand goes from here, up on the shoulder line, up to below the line of here. So now when Ebed tries to get a strong whizzer, and if he starts to shift his weight back, I can shift his weight back forward. He tries to shift his weight back, I can shift his weight back forward. From here, I bring my elbow and my knee in, and I build, and I shoot my elbow down to the mat. I put weight on my elbow, and now I'm in my backside single situation.
Now we're going on to the tilt position. There's two things I do from this position. One is dealing with the bottom knee. So when my opponent brings me into a tilt, I want to make sure I can get off his hips, and it's normally based on this knee. So I'm stuck on him here. I want to push on this knee and slide my hips to the mat. So as I'm fighting, making sure I'm not flat, I'm pushing off and trying to slide my hips off. Once my hips are off, you can belly out pretty easily. The second one is I've given up all my back points. So I'm giving up on turning my stomach. He's already gotten all the back points, or close to it, so now what I'm gonna do is try and look for a reversal. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna peel the top hand, and I'm gonna take my leg that's closer to him, the one that's normally not being elevated, and I'm gonna put that foot underneath his top foot here. Now from here, I'll roll my hands free. I'll start looking to scooch my hips off of him. Because I have this hook, it's hard for him to come up on top of me.
Yep.
And then I'll look for replacing it with my hand to a switch position, and then I'll get my reversal here.
Oh, I love it.
Okay?
That's great.
So I'll show that one more time. It's a little more advanced than the first one. But, you know, obviously as you get tilted, you want to get off your back as soon as possible. But if you get stuck and there's really not an opportunity to go to your stomach, we're going to attack the top hand, and we're going to get our foot in position. Now from here, all I'm doing is looking to hop off his hips, and he'll start to try to come on top of me here. But if you have this foot hook, very hard to get on top. Now, as I use my hand here, I'm going to keep switching my hips away from him so I can turn in the leg and get the reversal. And ends up going to like an leg elevator to a regular switch position. The last one we're going to talk about is the cradle. I will probably make a separate video on how to avoid cradles and getting there in the first place, and like how to avoid getting put to your back. But this video is specifically on escaping once you're on your back. And the reality is there's not many I could think of. There's not really many Placido can think of. I think the general thing is keeping one shoulder off the mat as you fight the grip and extend your legs. So you're trying to break that grip, but just be careful of getting pinned while you do it, right? Don't, like if my opponent has me in a far side cradle, like lock the one where you like that, and we fall to our side here. So as I'm falling, try to get one arm through so that go to your left hip and like lay on your side. This is kind of how normally people will be pinning here. As I'm fighting off this, or as I'm trying to break the grip, just make sure you have your shoulder off the mat. Common things people will do is they'll try to lock their legs together, they'll peel these fingers, they'll extend, they'll try to break. But, in reality, it's fight as hard as you can. If you're in this position, keep one shoulder off the mat, attack the grip. You can interlock your legs like this and break. Now, I do have other ways, like I'll probably make a video in the future about escaping, like, from cradles before you're to your back. Like, for example, if you have a near side cradle, if you can get your arm through here, you have options where you can actually just put them to their back. But I don't think we're really going to go into that in this video. The general advice is you're on your back with a cradle, stay off of one shoulder, try to attack those fingers, try to extend yourself, go to your belly if you have to. It doesn't really matter too much. And like we were talking about before this, Placido was saying, for jiu-jitsu, you're really not...
There's no urgency.
There's no urgency to get out of that position. It doesn't really matter too much. It's not a position where people are going to score points.
Which is probably one of the reasons why I don't necessarily haven't spent a lot of time thinking about escaping the position. But honestly, you piqued my interest, and I think it's something we should study and make another video on entirely separately in the future. Guys, that goes to show, work on your cradles, guys. Because like you have two guys here who have spent, like combined, we have more than 20 years of grappling experience. And both of us, we don't really have necessarily like right off the rip, like, oh yeah, I know a great cradle escape.
And if you're looking for more jiu-jitsu content, make sure you follow Placido's channel.
Santos.
I'll put it right in the description too.
Please.
If you're looking for jiu-jitsu content, that's the place to go. My experience is just wrestling, and that's why I brought Placido in to help with this specific escapes video and pin video.
For jiu-jitsu guys who, I think you do have some jiu-jitsu guys that do watch this channel here and there.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, guys, trust me when I say, like, obviously I've spent a lot of time. Most of what I've learned in this sport has been from my coach, John Danaher. But with that said, guys, I've learned so much about wrestling and the standing position from Evan and Steven Jarrell from Iron Faith. I've made time to go down from Massachusetts to Rhode Island to go visit them, and it's been worth my time, big time. And especially oftentimes they'll teach me things that basically bring into context and flesh out the concepts and principle that Professor John is teaching me, and it's been nothing but gold. So if you're a jiu-jitsu guy and you're watching this channel, pay close attention to it, because both Steven and Ebed, I know Ebed's the main one on the channel, both of these guys have spent a lot of time on the craft. Trust me, what they're teaching you works, and it's battle tested.
Appreciate it.